Just wanted to find out about the shir. 1 second, please. So we're on Lamed Gimel days around but the Mishnah spoke about a case of how it's possible, theoretically possible that would be many chatos for an avera that a man by mistake mistook his wife for somebody else for his wife. So it speaks about two men that married two different women, and at the time of relations, they switched by mistake, the Gemara says, and therefore the high practice for Ish. Also, it's possible to have four averas simultaneously. If she also Ish, also two brothers are married to wives, should also be a brother's wife and a wife's sister, and also if they're nidos, so that would be four. The Gemara says that altogether there would be 16 chatos because there are four people involved, and each one of them did four averas. After that, the Mishnah spoke about in order to get back together again, they have to wait 3 months in order to make sure that they'll know if she becomes pregnant from who she's pregnant, the first or the second, it'll be question will be about a mom's, etc. And if she's a katana, then there's no shasha that she became pregnant. And the Mishnah is off about kahanas if they're basco and they're basco from Kuba because they had a deal. The main point of the Mishnah was it's possible to have four chatos simultaneously, which relates to the subject before, which came in the Gemara about which the Gemara right away takes issue of, and that's the top of Lamadalid. And you see in this Mishnah all three things. You said there's a question of once one issue took effect, is it possible that more Yisum should take effect on it? And we had different shittas, and Yoshi of Shimon came in also about Tira and Rakapara. And the Gemara had these clauses, whatever exceptions, that even if you hold the Enes Echal Alyssa, but if it's either a Kola, and even about Mosif is even more, Basach is even more, and we said the general rule of the Isser Basachas means that both of them came simultaneously, which is the most part that they should take effect. Most of it means that in the Isser, more people became more Yisurim, or more people took effect onto that Chaticha, onto that thing that was Aser became Aser to more people. That was the example we had until now. And Isakolo means that not that more people become Aser in this Chaticha, but the person who's Aser in this Chaticha becomes Aser in more Chatichas. Example we gave were just the simple one would be a brother's wife and then a wife's sister. That's the case that we had. I have a diagram of maybe something would help over here. We have this diagram and we have, no, it's not on. Oh, yes, it is. Yes, sir. Let's see. This is the case of two brothers are married, two sisters, and the Gemara right away says that in order to be chayav, Eshes ach. Let's make it a little bit bigger. Eshes ach, achos isha, and nida. That it's possible to have four chatos if they switched wives by mistake. So here it's going to be basachas. What's basachas? When, let's say, this one married first, this brother married first this wife. So the relationship between this man and this woman is going to be, first of all, she's she's married. But at the same time, simultaneously with that condition, that the brother married her, she also becomes his brother's wife. She's a married woman and happens to be to his brother. So both of them came to basachas. Afterwards, if he marries the sister, so then she also becomes a relation of Achosisha, his wife's sister, and that's Isakolo. Why is that Kolo? Because not that she became us with more people, but he became us with more people because he's going to be us in more sisters. If to be other sisters also, that's called Isakolo. The first time that it became Issa, why is it called Issa? Here we have the case over there. If it would have been first Achosisha and then Ishasat, then it would be Issa Mosif, because more brothers become us in that woman. But this is the way the Gemara is setting it up over here. That it would be possible to have all three in this case, because Nida would be that she became Nida afterwards. That's Mosif. Why is it us Mosif? That even the husband who was mutter unto her until now becomes Aser in her. That same Chaticha became more Aser. So the Gemara right away introduces that if the Mishnah says it's possible to have all 4 Yisurim at the same time, that if they switched wives, these two men, they got married to these 2 women, and then by mistake they switched, and each one had relations with the other one's wife, the Chai for Chatos. So the Esha says in the Esha Sach took place simultaneously when he married they both became simultaneously a married woman and married to his brother. And when he married second, the one who married second, and now she becomes a wife's sister, that's going to be a Sikolo. It would have been a Chosisha, and then Esha Sach, then it would have been a Samosa. But if Moses, even this would be a Sikolo. And when they become a Nida, if they became a Nida afterwards, then it would be Moses. And what the Issa became added on to that, even to the husband who was with her until now. Now he's also on, he's also on her. So the Mishnah says, the Gemara says that in this scenario of the Mishnah, you have all 3 cases. That Issa Chalal, you have either a Basachas and even a Mosef and even a Kola. So the Gemara wants to know who's the Tana of this Mishnah. The truth is, Taisus Shana points out that we had Rav Yossi. Yesterday, he said that Rav Yossi holds all of them, that he holds Kola, that he surely holds Mosef and Basachas. But the Gemara is going to find somebody that openly says all of them, and therefore we choose Rav Meir to say it could be Rav Yossi also, but that would be with a Kal V'chomer. And what the Gemara is going to bring down is Rav Meir said all of them. So who's the Tana that holds that all these 3 possibilities of Kola, Mosef, and Sholi Basachas is enough to say Issa Chalal? By the way, that's the way we paskin. We paskin that ain't Issa Chalal, but if you have any one of these things, Basachas, even a Mosef, even a Kola, that both Yisurim took place simultaneously. We find Rav Meir holds all of these things. The Tanya Yesh Ochel Achila Achas V'chai V'la Ava Chatos. It's possible for a person to eat one eating, a kazayas, and with that one kazayas, he's chayim 4 chatos and 1 hashim. He did 5 averos simultaneously by eating 1 food. And let's see how is that possible. Tamei she'achal chela who knows so minam mukdashim Yom Kippurim. He made a mistake. He forgot that it's Yom Kippur or that you're not allowed to eat in Kippur, and he is tamei who ate a piece of chela. Chela was non-kosher fat, and also happens to be from a korban that also became nosar. So he's chayim 4 things, 5 averos, 4 chatos and 1 nashim. The mukdash here, the lilo is going to be a hasham lilo, it's going to be kodesh. Just to see the charm here is a charm that is a up again for a second. Take this down. No pictures over here, but that's what happened over here. That you have first. Rashi says that this would be all the cases of Asachas, Mosef, Kola. What do you have over here? First of all, chayla means when an animal was born, so it had fat, and the fat is not kosher, so it's not kosher fat. This is the first issue that came into being. That when this animal was born, people are us to keep their chayla. Then after they were makdish, it's Issa Mosef. What's Issa Mosef about it? That more Yisurim came onto the chayla. Till now, the chayla was only us to eat. But now that it became hektish, it's also to have enough of it also. So Mosef means that if there are more things become usher in that chaticha, the same chaticha, not that there's the Mosef and Kola. Mosef means that more things became usher in that chaticha. So here we have that. Because it's
makdish, you can't do it.
Since it became kodesh, now it became asibana, you're not allowed enough of it also. So that since it became asibana, so Isra Achila also takes effect. Isra Achila of eating hektish is also going to become a sense. Isra Chalalisa. No, sir. Then it became, then after it was hektish, also was left over the time. So this also is a most, and Rashi explained because also it's a bit of Mizbeach. Also, till now, the chaylev of hektish was supposed to be under Mizbeach. Once it became nosa, you're not allowed to be marked around the Mizbeach either. So because of that, it became an adidus. You're not allowed to eat nosa. And now, even though it is a halalisa, but since it's most of Yisurim on this chaticha, so that is of eating it also. So someone's going to eat it at this point. It's going to be high 3 of theirs, chaylev of eating hektish, and it's nosa. If the person became coming now, it's issakola. What's issakola? Because still now, that this person was allowed to eat other things. He wasn't allowed to eat these things, but he was allowed to eat other things, other kachim. But now that he's tummy, he's not allowed to eat other kachim either. Therefore, the issa tummy goes on this also. He's going to eat this piece of hektish. He's going to be, which is nosar and chaylev. He's also going to be chayim for eating tummy. Tummy shachol asakodesh. And if it happens to be Yom Kippur, it's also going to be an abayri, even though it's a halalisa, because it's also kola. What does kola mean? Till now, the person was allowed to eat everything else. A regular person, even though he's tummy, he's allowed to eat everything, he's allowed to eat pans of chulin. But now he's not allowed to eat he's not allowed to eat that either. That's called it's halal mochatichos. So since it's halal is so Yom Kippur on other pieces of food, so it's also halal this piece. So if this person would eat this kazayas on Yom Kippur, he'd be chayav for chaylev and hektish and nosar, tameh, and Yom Kippur. That would be 4 chatos. Hektish is going to be asham ilos. So you have 4 chatos and 1 Asham. And so far, Mosif and Kola. But Rabbi continues to say that if it was Shabbos, we'll see it in the text inside. It says in the Brisa, Rabbi says that it was Shabbos and he was carrying it in his mouth. That's also going to be another Avera for carrying on Shabbos. Over there, it's not the point about just carrying it that happens to be carrying it at the same time. The Gemara is going to say soon that maybe it's only considered carrying, but what does carrying have to do with eating? Everything's talking about eating over here. So they talk about the fact that when he swallows it, that's called the hanacha. So the malach of carrying was completed by swallowing it. When he swallowed it, he did all these averos. He also made hanacha of carrying on Shabbos. The Rabban is still going to say that's not on the list, but if we're talking about averos of eating, here it happens to be that eating is going to be considered hanacha. That's not the point. The point is it's considered a mitzvah achila. But Rabbi counts it also because it happened simultaneously with the swallow. Anyway, what does the Gemara say? You want to find somebody that holds all these averos, so the Gemara is going to say, Rabbi Meir, the time it's possible for a person to eat one swallow, one food, and he's chayiv on that, 4 chatos and 1 Hashem. What is the case? As we said, tell me a person that ate chayla, which was also no serve from hektish, on your Kippur, so you have over there 5 averos, 4 chatos and 1 Hashem. Rabbi Meir Omer, you also can have another one. In Moshe Shabbos, let's see if it was Shabbos and he carried it in his mouth. He's also chayiv another one, and as we said, it's not just the fact that he was carrying in his mouth. The swallowing gave the hanacha, and that's why he completed averos. So that swallow was the also averos for carrying on Shabbos. But they said that's not in the number in the name of the avero because here we're talking about eating, and happens and Shabbos is a din of carrying. It happens to be right that when he swallows it, that completed the hanacha, but it's a different chain. Anyway, Rabbi is not concerned with that, and that's enough for us. We have that Rabbi holds that you have a basachas. This is also a basachas case. When does Shabbos take effect? The same time as Yom Kippur takes effect. When it comes to Eve of Yom Kippur, it means Yom Kippur, that's also Shabbos. So it came together. So you have a basachas. So we find somebody that holds Mosif, Kola, and basachas. So the Gemara says, okay, if our Mishnah means that all these things happened the way we said, that first it was Eishes and Eishesach basachas, and then also became a Chosisha, which is a Kola, and Nida, which is a Mosif. So we find somebody that holds like that. So we find the Kana Rav Meir. There was a side problem now that besides this whole mess that happened over here, but they were intending to do a mitzvah. They wanted to get married. They made a mistake. There was a takalah. It happened a bad thing that they switched their minds, but they intended to do a mitzvah. When he had relations with the woman, he thought it was his wife right after marriage, and it's a mitzvah to have relations. So that would be an issue with Kol Tov B'Dvar Mitzvah. And that's the Gemara's kasha, that even if they did only 5 averos, but the fact that they were involved in doing a mitzvah and the mitzvah caused them the mistake, so they should be put from all the chatos. That's the next Gemara's kasha. And the Gemara says, even though you spoke about the Eilus Achalalissa, you took care of that, but you didn't take care of Tov B'Dvar Mitzvah. You shouldn't cut it. Rabbi leave it alone. Who does Rabbi hold like as far as the subject of Tov B'Dvar Mitzvah? We know Rabbi Yeshua that the Belezer holds that Tov B'Dvar Mitzvah is high, so that will be good in our Mishnah. He doesn't care that Tov B'Dvar Mitzvah is not an excuse, but the Yeshua holds Tov B'Dvar Mitzvah is better.
Oh, it's always unintentional?
Of course, yes, of course. Yeah, even though Yeshua, I'm a Tov B'Dvar Mitzvah Potter. Yeshua told that since they wanted to do a mitzvah, they made a mistake. The case of the guy who ate the snowstorm and everything, he didn't know that it's from Kippur, he didn't know that it's Kodesh, but he wasn't doing a mitzvah. He thought he forgot about everything, but he did do a mitzvah. Here, he thought that it's his wife, he's getting married, so it's a mitzvah. So he should be Potter because Tov B'Dvar Mitzvah. So you must say, leave the Rabbi Lezer. Leave the Rabbi Lezer, who holds Tov B'Dvar Mitzvah is fine. He doesn't know the Tov B'Dvar Mitzvah, so our Mishnah must be a point of Rabbi Lezer. But the Gemara says you also can say Rabbi Yeshua. Even Rabbi Yeshua also has a limitation when he's going to Potter a Tov B'Dvar Mitzvah. If you say, Rabbi Yeshua, Rabbi Yeshua holds that there is a Torah of Tov B'Dvar Mitzvah. Keep on Rabbi Yeshua, Tov B'Dvar Mitzvah is Potter. How do you mean Gabi Kenokos? It's not a whole. Here's the case they speak about. They speak about Tov B'Dvar Mitzvah by 2 children that he's supposed to circumcise. The mall has 2 babies. One is supposed to be circumcised on Shabbos. One is supposed to be circumcised on Friday. Took the wrong baby, and they circumcised the Friday baby on Shabbos. Wow. So it's already 9 days old. That's the case. He was Tov B'Dvar Mitzvah. He wanted to do a mitzvah, and he made a mistake. That's what Rabbi Yeshua says. Yes, he's right. In Masechet Shabbos, and over there, Yeshua, the lesson says high. He doesn't hold the Torah of Tov B'Dvar Mitzvah. Yeshua says he wanted to do a mitzvah, and you did a mitzvah also. So you should maybe that's a different subject. But it says here that Yeshua holds this Torah of Tov B'Dvar Mitzvah. The Gemara says not over there. There's mano boho, that there's pressure about the time. It's a time issue because he's supposed to do the milah today on the right day. He's supposed to do the milah today on the 8th day. So he's in promotion, whatever maybe a better word. He's under pressure because of the time. So the time pressure, the time pressure of the mitzvah caused him the mistake, and therefore it's excusable when he's potter. Talmud bar mitzvah because it was man of bohol. But the Talmud bar mitzvah without his man bohol, even Rabbi Yeshua doesn't know that it's potter. Rabbi Yeshua holds, the Rabbi holds that nothing is potter. But even if Rabbi Yeshua says Talmud bar mitzvah is potter, it's only when he has some kind of excuse why he was pressurized because of the mitzvah. And that's only by Mila, for instance, where there's a time boundary. He has to do it on the 8 days. So that's why he caused him a mistake and he got the wrong baby. But over here, that there's no bachas over here. He's getting married. Okay, so make sure it's the right wife. He's doing a mitzvah, even though he intended to do a mitzvah, but he should have taken more time to make sure that's his wife. And even if Yeshua will not hold that he's potter. He doesn't have to have, there's no time limit when he has relations with his wife. So he should have made sure, and even if Yeshua will not potter him. The most the kasha, the most to prove that Rabbi Yeshua holds that he's potter even without that time factor, without any behola, that's not but the harei truma, the ain't not involved, but the potter. We find that Yeshua says if a kohen, he thought he was a kohen, and he ate truma, and we find that was a mistake. We'll see right away the case. So he says, "Tell him says potter," because he thought he's doing a mitzvah, and over there there's no behola, there's no certain time you have to eat the truma. It's not the truma. A kohen, he thought he was a kohen, he was eating truma. But no, the shuvim grusha went cholitza. And then they tell them, you're not a Kohen. Your mother was divorced that married a Kohen. She was divorced before she married the Kohen, or Ben Chalutza. And the Kohen, your father who married, you're now a Cholo. You lose the Gula because your father married somebody who's not allowed to. So you're not allowed to eat Truma. And you eat Truma by mistake. You told me he's a Kohen. Then they tell them, after you eat Truma, you told me that he wasn't a Kohen. If it wasn't a Chayv Chomish, or if it doesn't consider something like anybody that like a Zar, a Lan Cohen that ate Truma by mistake, so he has to pay the principal and extra bit. That's the din of somebody that eats Truma b'shogeg. If Yeshua poter, and if Yeshua poter, why? Because Talmud bar mitzvah, so he's doing mitzvah, eating Truma. So and if there's no bahala, what's the bahala over there? There's no bahala, nothing rushing him to finish the Truma, and you see that he's poter anyway. So you see that Yeshua holds that Talmud bar mitzvah is poter even without his man baal. So the Kash goes back to our Mishnah.
Was he potter? He pays his fist.
Yeshua poter. Oh. So the one is saying, you see, Yeshua was even by Talmud bar mitzvah, and he was not bahul. So our Mishnah that there was no bahul over there, so he should be poter. And our Mishnah says it's chai pochato. So how could you reconcile our Mishnah with Rabbi Yeshua? The Gemara says no. The case over there is also bahul. Over there, it's not a regular truma. Regular truma on a regular day, he's not going to be chai with Rabbi Yeshua because there's no time factor and he's not bahul, and he's going to be chai for eating it. Even though he meant to do well. But over here, the case that he's potter is because it was Truma of Pesach, which means that it was hummus of Truma, and if he's not going to get it on time, he's going to have to burn it. So he's bold to save the Truma and eat it before his man of Pesach Chametz. How nice that we're learning it the day before Erev Pesach. That if somebody has Truma, so he's supposed to eat it. So, if you have regular food, okay, you don't need to say burn it, but Truma, if you're not going to eat it on time, you're going to have to burn it. That's bold, and therefore that's the case that he's potter. But that's not if it not be bold, then Yeshua would hold. So far we have our Mishnah that said that it's possible to be chai pochatos. We had two concerns we spoke about. One is Enes Achal Alyssa, and how could you have four? And the Gemara said it could be because it could be mostly for the basachas and a kola. All the different cases, you can get a case that should be chai. There's a mandiyom of Yossi or Meir that holds that is Achal Alyssa if you have these reasons. And as far as anything is good, and thank you, but I don't want to miss. And the other consideration I spoke about that you should be potter because Talmud bar mitzvah. So first of all, Lezer holds high because our Mishnah holds like a Lezer, Talmud bar mitzvah is high. Even Rabbi Yeshua only holds potter if he's bohul. Something's pressuring him. But yeah, there's no pressure. We should make sure he got the right wife, and it's not going to be a point according to Rabbi Yeshua. If you want, I can say Pshat the Mishnah also nothing to do with Rabbi Meir about Kolel and Moshe. If I could give you a case, Yeshua, thank you very much. Much appreciated. Thank you. You can have a case even according without bringing in Kolel and Moshe. You can get a case that all these 4 Yisurim happen simultaneously, which sounds like wow. How could that be? How can you have that Eshes Ish and the brother's wife and a wife's sister and then all simultaneously? How could that be? I'll leave it to Rav Shimon. Even Rav Shimon holds Enes Achal Alyssa, it could be, but it's Issa Basachas. We proved before that everybody, that was more before, that everybody holds, even Rav Shimon, that Basachas will come simultaneously. To Yisur, he also holds that Issa Achal Alyssa.
Because you don't know which one came
Not because
first.
you don't know, because even though one is more common than the other one, but since they came simultaneously, not because you don't know. They came simultaneously, and both of them come. And how do you get a Basachas? How could you have the three of Eshes Ish and brother's wife and wife's brother all happening simultaneously? Back to the picture again for a second. Wrong one. Here it is. That here you have that they married, two brothers married two sisters, and you get all of them simultaneously. How could you have all of them coming simultaneously? So the Gemara says 3 out of 4 we can figure out that the two brothers made a shliach to give kedushin to the two sisters, and the two sisters made a shliach Kabbalah that she received the kedushin, and as soon as one shliach gave the money, whatever, to the other shliach, so then he met both brothers married both sisters simultaneously. If you have two people making it, so then it can't be exactly they gave the ring at the same time, exactly, one's going to be before the other. But even if they're standing under the chuppah together, still it's going to be one before the other. But if you have here that they made a shliach, then it's possible. As soon as one shliach gives to the other, so then both kedushin happen simultaneously. But how do you get a nida? How do you have that leadership before? If the marriage was before they became a nida, so then the marriage is before. If they were leaders before the marriage happened, then it's a nida. How do you have that? Even though Enes Achalalisser, it can be basachas, that all these assume happened at the same time. So the more finds a case for that also. One over here. Diva, you could say that everything happened at the same time. They made a shliach to be mekadesh. They made a shliach. The woman made a shliach to be mekadesh to get kedushin. The public shliach for shliach, and the shliach to be mekadesh gave it to the shliach to be miskadesh, and that's how all the marriages happen together. And when Nida said to Mishkachas, how could you have that the Nida and the marriage happen simultaneously? So the Muslim answer that they became bar mitzvah and bas mitzvah. They say because there you go, that it's true that everything with the Messiah was all there, but the marriage happened to Nida. They were needed before. They were needed before. The Gemara says in a bit fancy words that they were shofar. Shofar means that they were screaming blood from before to after. The first says it doesn't mean that. It just means they became Nida before their birthday, and the boys and the girls all became bar mitzvah and bas mitzvah on the same day. How would the case be? That the boys were twins, whatever they were married on, they were born on the same day. Not to be twins, but they were born on. They are twins because we said that they're brothers. Two brothers married two sisters, twin boys that married. That
Married
became,
twin girls.
and they all became bar mitzvah bas mitzvah the same day. Because the boys became 13. It was the boys' 13th birthday, and when the girls' 12th birthday, that the girls were born a year later. And on the birthday, they had 4 birthdays and 2 marriages that all happened simultaneously. And how was we have the shliach that made all the kedushin, and they also became bar mitzvah at the same time. The kedushin was to be taking place at the beginning of the day. Rashi says that they made a shliach. They talk about how they make shliach on their katan, but they made a shliach that the kedushin should take effect in the beginning of the night. As soon as they became bar mitzvah, bas mitzvah, they wanted to be married, and at the beginning of the night, that's when Issa Nidas took place. Not that they were Nida before already, but they had no Issa Nida because they're not tied in mitzvahs. So the Isurim of Nida and all the Kedushin all came simultaneously at the beginning of the night of their bar bas mitzvah. And that's what the Gemara says. Inu means them masculine, Indi means them feminine, means that the 2 boys became bar mitzvah, and the girls were leaders before that evening, and now that they became bar mitzvah, now they're tied in this and the girls also they became for their 12th birthday, and in the eve of their 12th birthday, that's when that same night, and they became the Isser Nida. They were leaders before. They were physically Nidos before that, but there was no Isser. There's an Isser type relation because they were not bas mitzvah. So the bar mitzvah and the bas mitzvah happened exactly at the same time, and also the marriage also took place at the same time. That they made a shliach that your marriage should take place in the beginning of their bar bas mitzvah. So that's it's very difficult, of course, but it's just to give us a scenario responsible to have a basach. Sometimes the Mishnah is not interested in the technicalities. Means of course the Gemara doesn't mean to say that's the case the Mishnah was talking about, but it means that if Mishnah wasn't interested in the basachas case, don't be in the Issa and Halal Issa. That wasn't the chiddush of the Mishnah. The Mishnah wanted to tell you how many yisurim could be, and they said it's been about a fun to wait 3 months, and they probably have a side point about it. And it's a Halal Issa, we can take care of it. It's interesting how the Gemara does. The Gemara, I put parentheses over here. The Gemara spoke about Talmud Bar Mitzvah. The Gemara put it in between. It's only on the first terrace. And the second terrace, it seems like it's not an issue. And it's another kasha. The kasha about Talmud Bar Mitzvah has nothing to do with the two terutzim. The first terrace was that it happened, that it goes according to a mayor, that it's a Mosif, it's a Kovel, it's a Basachas. And the second terrace says that it was a Basachas. But the kasha in between about Talmud Bar Mitzvah, is going to both terutzim. The Gemara says that in the first terrace. So Taisa says, one place from the bottom, Basi Shapra, if you look at Yeshua, the Shimon Islam, the Parakelu Gorim, Talmud Bar Mitzvah, the law of Mitzvah. That Taisa points out that this issue that if they didn't accomplish a mitzvah, maybe Yeshua or something more here doesn't talk about, and maybe even Rabbi Shua that says, talking about mitzvah, but there's always a mitzvah, he did something. He did a mitzvah. Like by the Milah, the Maaseh, he circumcised a child that was chayiv in the Milah. So even though it's a 9th day already, but the Maaseh, he did something good. But over here, that he had relations with a woman that he's not supposed to be, there's no mitzvah accomplished. So that's what the Gemara used to say, that according to Rav Shimon, if you say Rav Shimon, you don't have the problem with Talmud Ramis. So that's the end of that sugya. I mean, more or less, he had the issue of having many chatos. The Gemara had two issues. One is about Enes Achal Alyssa. The Gemara said either it has taka Issa Moset, Issa Kola, Alyssa Basachas, or you could say that it's all the Basachas, this fancy case that you can get the Bar Bas Mitzvah at the same night and the Kedusha and everything happened at the same, they need to happen at the same time. As far as Talmud Ramis, we have either of Lezer, that holds Talmud Ramis Basai, or you have Rabbi Shua, that our Gemara says that it's not Zman of Bo, and you also have another shot in Rabbi Shua that only Asa Mitzvah. Here it's not Asa Mitzvah. He didn't accomplish anything. But Maisa, when he had a relation with the wrong woman, then nothing was accomplished. So no mitzvah at all. So but yeah, even Rabbi Shua doesn't know that the mitzvah is part. He also doesn't know that it's not. That good? To point out Allah, after all that sugya about Enes Achal Alyssa, we do pass like it says here on the top, that any one of these three things would be a reason that Enes Achal Alyssa, either Kola or Mosif or Basachas. Otherwise, if it doesn't have all those things, then Enes Achal Alyssa. And as far as Tavod Mitzvah, I think we pass like a Mishua that Tavod Mitzvah Basa Mitzvah Spata. You have to know about Zman of Ball. Here it says not when it's Zman of Ball. The Mishnah said that after they found out the mess, so they can't go back to their husbands until they make sure that there's going to be a chana. A chana is a word in Hebrew that means to discern, to be able to discern the baby that's born. If the woman is pregnant, we'll wait 3 months to see if she's pregnant. If she's not pregnant, she goes back to her husband. If she's pregnant, you know that she's pregnant from the first husband and from the first relation, mamza. And when the baby's going to be born, we'll know his father is, we'll know his status. You have to wait 3 months. If not, then you're not going to know. The baby's going to be born. You're not going to know if it's from the first relation or it's from the husband, from the real husband. So you have to wait 3 months. The Master Kasha shouldn't be any problem. If they were virgins beforehand, but any Nishim Asavas would be a Rishon. The Kasha is that she surely not only had one-time relation here at Smashma. They only had one relation, then they found out the mess. So there's no shot she became pregnant because the Gemara says she can't become pregnant the first time that she has a beer. That's not by a woman who's already doesn't it means beer Rishon that she that made her not to be a basula. Until now she was a virgin. So the beer that rips the hymen. Then that doesn't, she can't become pregnant in that. I don't know why, because the horror has nothing to do with each other. One is just the physical breakthrough of the hymen, and the other one is that the zera should be conceived. So I don't know why it's so, but the Gemara says she doesn't become pregnant from the first beer. So the kasha is, what's the problem? They should be able to go back to their real husband because they're surely not pregnant from that one-time beer that they had with the wrong one, the mismatch. That's the Gemara's kasha. The Mishnah only means if there was another beer, if they had 2 beers, they didn't find out the mistake until the second time. If they would have found that after only one time, so then there's no shot she's pregnant, then you wouldn't have to wait 3 months. The most Takashi, you can't say that.
Is it true that a chosn has to be perished from his kala after the Rishona? That's just the Rabban.
Yes, but even if so, so then he waits until then she waits 7 days, whatever.
Or you can say the people it's not
well, they can be. Well, the Rishon means that they afterwards, a couple of days later. The Master Kasha says, plus the Tatan. The Brisa before said that in this scenario of our Mishnah, you have that there are 4 people that did 4 Averis, so there's 16 chatos altogether. 4 times 4. But according to this, it's only a case where they had 2 times a beer, then there's going to be 32 because they had 2 times a beer. Each woman is going to be chayiv for each Avera 2 times because they had each time they had a beer, they each transgressed 4 Averis. So there's going to be 32, not 16. If you say the case is only talking about that they had 2 times a beer, the Gemara says no, that's not that doesn't bother us. You're right, but that's not the point. We hold like the Rabbana that say that even if they did many Averis, it's all the hell of Mecha, that they made a mistake and they didn't realize the mistake, like he ate Chalev many times. So if you thought that it was not Chalev or forgot Issa Chalev, so then only one. But Rabbi seems to say that even though the hell of Mecha is still Chayiv many, and he says I'll call for means that every time, even in one beer, if he penetrates and he withdraws, each time he goes, each time he penetrates and withdraws from his wife, from the woman, not from the woman, there's a fear. There's also a fear. So according to him also, even in one beer, there's going to be a peace and a yitzia, and he should be chayiv many, to Bahavia. and there are many beers, there are many Knesset beers here during a beer. So how come it says only 16? The answer is it doesn't mean that you're just saying there are more than 16. It just means there are 16 affairs that are happening. If they did it many times, then it will be many times. The beer Rishon Kachashim. So saying the first beer, even though there are many beers, you have to go with Rishon, but the order that it should be Any Shemis Severes will be Rishon. And the Tanami say that we're not bothered with that concept that it says 16. He does say to be 16 people. If there are 4 people that did 4 Averis, and if they did it a couple of times, they'll be high as many times as they did it. That's not the point. I think one of these stays with that parents that Amy Shemis Severes would be Rishon. And the case here was that they had to be a Shnia, and that's why she's possible she became pregnant. That's when you have to wait the 3 months. Although Senechanami, you don't have to wait the 3 months. The Gemara goes into a tangent here about this Yesod of Amy Shemis Severes will be Rishon.
You're saying if she's a virgin, you don't have to wait for 3 months.
If they only had 1 beer, she was a virgin,
Right.
had 1 beer,
Right.
and it's possible that she became pregnant in that first beer, so they don't have to wait 3 months. I'm not sure about what would I say about what we know in medicine. Is it possible? Is it impossible nowadays? I don't know. The Gemara goes with yourself that it's impossible to become pregnant from the first beer, and I don't understand why, but that's what the Gemara says. Somebody told me that it is possible nowadays. He knows that's a fact. I don't know, but okay. Amalei, not Rav Lev Nachman. There's a little got it over here. Amalei Rav Lev Nachman. Well, Tamar, the beer Rishon Abba. The Gemara is going to soon say that Tamar, when she was a virgin, when she had relations with Yehuda, she was a virgin, even though she was already married. That's the Gemara.
Oh.
She was married to Onan, she still was a virgin, and when Yehuda had relations with her, she should have been also a virgin. And how did she become?
How did you get pregnant? I was thinking
How
about
did she
that,
become pregnant?
because we have cases.
So we told him Tamar asked on me. Tamar, she manually made herself. She crushed her hymen. She wanted to make sure that she don't only has 1 chance to be She wanted to be a shliach. She wanted to become pregnant from him. So she manually, with her finger, she crushed the hymen, and then when she had the beer Rishon with Yehuda, she was able to become pregnant. The only point is, it's not about beer Rishon. It means the beer that brings down this pursuing that does not possible to make her pregnant. But here she was already broke to pursue on her own. That in the family of Rebbe, base Rebbe, if they were women that before they got married, they would drink their virgin, they would be called them Tomar, a nickname of Tomar.
Wow.
Because they were like Tomar that she did it manually in order to become pregnant. And
Straight
I saw
away.
that Oscar brings down the Mitzvah, that the women they wanted to make themselves easier to become pregnant. They didn't want to wait a second beer, so they would be what that's one. Before they got married, they got a nickname of Tamar. That's the most Kasha. The most terrorist Kasha was that she was how did she become pregnant the first time? The answer is that even though it was the first time with Yehuda, but she already had manually broken the sewer. The Master Kasha, what are you talking about? That Tamar was a psula. Why she was a psula? She was married twice already. Yeah. My answer is they didn't have a regular beer. Whenever they had relations with their wife, Tamar, they did it in an unnatural way. That's like anal cohabitation, and it didn't break the psula. And the Master Kasha say why they did that. The Master Kasha, that's not true. Everyone had regular relations. They say, here's talking about a woman who's nursing, and we had an issue before, the board got an issue before that we wanted that she shouldn't become pregnant again because then she'll stop weaning, and the child that's already born is not going to have milk. So that's the issue we had before. We had an issue with the way to use the contraception, that she shouldn't become pregnant again. Before we said about she should put some kind of a cloth in order to absorb the semen, that she shouldn't become pregnant. It might say something else. But Leslie says that when they have relations, the husband and wife, when they have relations during the 24 months that she's nursing, so when it's time to ejaculate, he should go, and he shouldn't. The zera shouldn't go into the woman. The 24 months that we have to have 24 months that they should be able to nurse. That's the normal nursing time. Nowadays maybe it's different, but they used to do the 24 months of nursing. So Dashmi, the thing is only because the words are very lakosh mekia. So it talks about threshing and winnowing. He threshes inside and then he winnows outside. So the mashal would be now usually you call that's called but here's not Batola because he said his wife shouldn't become pregnant. It's dangerous for the baby that his wife should become pregnant. So he's allowed to do. We don't pass like this. We pass him that Shamash Kedarkan and Hashamayim Yirachenu, that it's not necessary to make a contraceptive whatever in any way during 24 months of nursing. Nowadays, also there's maternal, and it's not a second if she becomes pregnant and stops and weans her child, because they have other. She doesn't have to wean the child. They have other ways of feeding him. But even without that, the Gemara says we pass that it's not definitely to become pregnant, so they could assume. But anyway, I just want to say that end of the price. I'm away. The Rabban did not like this, that he should ejaculate big foot. This is like Erba. It's not the way to do it. So that's the end of the price. We don't need to go more for our purposes. We hold that it is mutter to have regular relations. But anyway, he said that that's like Erba. And what does he mean? That Erba, he says that's what they did. They had regular relations, but they ejaculated outside the woman's body. So that means that they did have regular relations. So when you're saying it, they did shloki, they did an unnatural kind of a beer. The Gemara says it doesn't mean to say that. It doesn't mean to say that it was the Latala. How is it Latala? If it means because it's in the anus or it means because it was on the ground, that doesn't make a difference. It's all Latala. The Ma'aseh Aaron, it doesn't mean exactly literally that is the same way. They did it unnaturally. And you're saying that he should do it natural beer, but then he should ejaculate outside. Over there it says that he wasted the semen. Doesn't have to be literally onto the floor. It means that he put it in a place where it's not going to develop into a baby. Right. So that's also Shalom Kedarka. It doesn't mean exactly. Neither was Shalom Kedarka. There was a natural way of having a relation. Kedarka, and here means Kedarka, and then he just is already with us. So the Gemara leaves it that way, that that she was still a virgin even after Erba. She still was a virgin, even though they had bias with her, the two husbands, but that was always Shlo Kedarka. They never had in the vagina. The mother wants to know, why did they do a Shlo Kedarka? Bishlama Ona, the Sid, baby, Shifasatsa. By Ona, we know why he didn't want to have relations with her to impregnate her, because it says the Bukina Sanzera Lafid, he didn't want she to become pregnant. The brother, Ona, the second brother. We know why he was Shifasatsa, but
Really?
where do you find that's what the Pasuk says? But there, right?
Rashi was.
Rashi here, the Pasuk says so. The Pasuk says, but people sounds out about it. He knew that it was a kind of a yibum over here, and the child is not going to be called his, it's going to be called his brother's, and therefore he didn't want to do it, and it's considered a vicious that he didn't want to give seed to his brother, but that's the reason why he didn't. But no, first of all, like why? Not why. Why? Who says that Aaron didn't have normal relations with his wife? Doesn't say the passage. But by Onan it says that Hashem killed him also. It says by he that Er was evil. Doesn't say what his evil was, and Hashem killed him. Then it says that Onan was evil because of this. And it says by Yamas Gam also. By Yera Bnei Hashem Hashem also. By Yamas Gam also Hashem killed Onan also. But also Gam also sounds like it was the same reason. The fact that it says Gam also they killed him also means the same as the first one. So when we see that the first one's problem was also that he was that he didn't impregnate her. And the question is, Abu Bosa Misame, see that for the same reason. Not more wants to know why. I mean, before the more must talk about why, the more talking about why. That over there by Onan it says the Pharaoh said he did so, and there it didn't say. So he brought the person to say that he also did so, Gam also. But why? Because he didn't want to give seed to his brother. Ella Er, my time of why did he do that? Why didn't he have regular relations with his wife? She was so beautiful, he didn't want to become pregnant, and then her beauty is gonna go down when she's pregnant. So he'd rather that she should have a beautiful wife and not have children. So that was considered an evil.
He was the first marriage.
That was the first marriage. And Hashem killed him, and then Onan also didn't want to give seed to his brother. Even the first brother didn't want seed.
But there'd be two reasons by Onan. One is they didn't want to Mezak his son's seed.
It could be
and beautiful.
It could be that in this simple child, the person could say that Bear was
which
because
one
he didn't want to do good to his brother.
Right.
But the more dash is because it was Erla.
I see. Which means he didn't want to take her beauty away. Sort of thing.
No, that was there. That was the first one.
Oh, no.
He didn't want to give his brother, sure, but not because of the wishes of the being a bad brother, but because Erla. The fact that he did Erla to that purpose, but he did Erla, so that's not there. That's called Ona. So more finish with that.
Isn't there Midrash that says that Reuven was conceived with the first beer?
Everyone is asking about Reuben. By Reuben, that Yaakov also only had one time relation with her. That should be
right.
Also. So Reuben,
hey, rachis on knee. What is it?
So that's the question. You don't need the person for that. He found out that the next morning. The next morning he found out that unless you say Baal B'Shana, we'll say Baal B'Shana. If he didn't realize until the morning. So it could
Can be
that
Leah, maybe
he
Leah
got-
also crushed her hymen, so she was really quickly become.
Ah,
Maybe she
okay,
thought,
I got to say,
maybe she,
same test the Gemara says maybe Leah also said.
why? Because she thought maybe when he finished with her, he would say, "You're not my wife. I don't want to see you
We
again."
know that doesn't happen. We know that. We know
No,
that
I'm
that's
saying-
what happened. You know, Lamar says what happened. He's saying.
She didn't know. She didn't know.
1 second. The first, Dr. Fine is first of all saying it's not in favor of the person that she became pregnant from that. Could be she became pregnant later on. That Yaakov didn't send her away, and then maybe she became pregnant from Ruvain. He's saying Rachel Sono says that it wasn't the first time. Okay,
That's what I
yeah,
thought,
this is what the Russian was saying. So kind of suggesting that if you say that was the first time you became pregnant, so then we'll say that.
How do you know that Yaakov and Leah only did it one time that first
So
time?
Chaim David is saying gracious owner. The fact that it says the pasuk says that he's called the first of his strength. He's the first time that. So maybe he was only the first for the first time. It's much better. He could call the pasuk
First
is fine.
year.
Moshe is saying that the pasuk shot is no problem. It doesn't mean that she became pregnant for the first time.
He's saying the
But
first
in
child.
the Midrash that it says it came from the first time. You have to say the same thing as Dr. Moore says. That's going to be okay. The more reading the side subject now, not relevant, mamish to our subject. I don't really know why it comes in. Because I don't. It talks about Shalom Gedark. I'm not sure about the relationship of us here. So this subject is talking about, we had a couple of parashiyos ago. It talks about Tumas Bia. Tumas Bia means that a man and a wife, a man and a woman, they have relations, even husband and a wife, so they become tummy from that relation. A man surely is going to become because if he has an ejaculation, he wouldn't be without a woman. If he has an ejaculation, he becomes a Valkyrie. A woman, she becomes tummy from having a Bia. The fact that they had a relation, not a big tummy, like a man that becomes tummy from ejaculation, the woman becomes also tummy from having a relation. Even if there wouldn't be any poletes, shephozera, even if she wouldn't emit any shephozera, the fact that they had a relation, a coalition, so that makes her tummy, makes both of them tummy. It's supposed to be Parshas, I think it was, what was it? So, it was very recently. So shephozera. Second piece. ואישה, אשר ישכב איש עושה שפזר, וחסות במים ותמו הדור. Right after the parsha was the Valkyrie, if he says ממנו שפזר, so over there by Shmi, over there at the end of the parsha and Torah, so it says a woman, that a man has a relation with a shepazera, so they have to go to the mikveh, v'chasut b'mayim v'tamei toli. That's called Tumas Bia. Nothing was wrong. Nothing was wrong.
Nothing.
She wasn't coming. She wasn't an Eva. She wasn't anything. Everything's fine. She becomes tummy. Both have become tummy to leave. So it says Ashishkat Ish Osa. It says the word extra Osa. Not the kala. Didn't Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda says that a kala means the first time that the husband and wife have relations, she doesn't get this tummy.
Oh, wow.
We don't know why. We'll see in a second. Why? Why should it be? The Chacham moment know that a kala does become tummy. If the relation was unnatural. Anal prohibition, so then it wouldn't make her tummy. That's not called a regular bia that makes her tummy. She's not tummy from that kind of a relation. Hon, that's his name. Hon. Rav Nachman's son, his name was Hon. He told his father, why should that be? Why does that mean to say that a kala doesn't have this tummy? Is the reason because the Torah has compassion on all of her makeup, all of her cosmetics, that if she's going to have to go to the mikveh after the first time they have relations, she's going to lose out on all of that cosmetics that she put on for the wedding. And the Torah wants that she shouldn't lose it. Like, I don't know if he means to say seriously, or he says, like, what kind of reason could it be? Why should the Torah have excluded the kala from this kind of a tumah for the first time? I'm going to know it's not the reason. There's a halachic reason that we can understand. That's why it comes in over here. The fish any shamas averis would be a rishona. That's what the more comes in over here. Because we said before that a woman does not become pregnant from the first time that they have a relation, and the tumah is only if she can become pregnant. The one say even if she can become pregnant, the fact that it's a mokum zera, the regular way of having it's roy lasria. So if it's shlokadarka, then it's not roy lasria. It's not roy to become pregnant. But this is roy to become pregnant. But when I say she won't become pregnant because of her situation, that it's the first bia. So Rabbi Yehuda holds that he wasn't trying to say that since she can't become pregnant for the first bia, that kind of the bia doesn't make her tummy. If we want to argue about in the pasuk, in the Russia, the pasuk, upon the side of Yeshef Hazara, Praf Law, also Praf Yeshlo Tedaka, there are two psukim. It says, Yeshef Yishkat Ish Osa, Shef Hazara. It says this. It says shekhazer. It says also, like I said before, yishkak is also shekhazer. So the one say shekhazer hara means that it was a small beer that didn't go all the way in. It didn't penetrate all the way. Just a little bit. We have to consider one time how much that is. But if you only had a bit of a penetration, not enough, so then it's not roy lasria, and therefore, for some reason, I'm not sure, and therefore that's not going to make them come in. And also it says Osa is going to be Pata Shalom Kedak. Those are the two psukim Shepazera, the Yishkak, Yishkak Osa, Yishkak Ish Osa Shepazera. So the Osa Pata Shalom Kedak. So you have two drushes, Shepazera and Osa. So what are the two drushes going to be? One is that Hara doesn't make her tameh because it wasn't a full beer, and Osa, as we said, Shalom Kedak, if it wasn't a natural beer. Rabbi Yehuda, how does he get the drushes to color? He has extra drusha. Rabbi Yehuda Saba, Shalom Kedaka. Rabbi Yehuda Saba, Shalom Kedaka, V'Ara, V'Shech Mazer Nafta. And Osa Prakakala. That he can both of you think that the same thing. He doesn't differentiate to say Hara, Shalom Kedaka. Both of them mean that it wasn't Roy Lasria. So over there, it's one pasuk to take care of both of them already. So you have an extra pasuk of Osa, Prakakala, but it has to be Roy Lasabe. Not enough as a Roy Lasria, it has to be that she should be able to become pregnant. Since she can become pregnant, also. There's no tumor. See, she passes like the Rabbanan that only two of them are going to be for Hara and Shalom Kedarka, but the Kala does become Tameh, and afterwards, nowadays she doesn't have to go to the mikvah for that because the men are also Tameh.
What's Hara again? Sorry, Hara is what?
Hara means a bit of a penetration, not a Marbiya. That's the end of that. Simply came in Aga because it says about the English of the rest of the Rishona. That's the reason I believe the Darshan only has extra pasuk the Darshan that since it's not going to the Sabbath, she doesn't become Tameh from that Bia. And I think it'll pass like that. We pass like the Rabbanan. There's only a Torah, only Hara or Shalom Kedarka. Over there is no Tumas Bia. Otherwise, the Kala also will become Tameh from the first time. As we started saying, that there's no ramifications nowadays. It means that she's Tameh, she can Truma or whatever, but it doesn't make that she has to go to the mikvah again. Right. But in those days, in Marati Truma or whatever, so then they would have to go to the mikvah after a Bia, even if it was the first time. A new Gemara that I don't know, this Gemara is under the Sugina. I don't know how it comes in here. I don't know what the connection is. The Gemara starts. After a woman, after her husband, if he died or he divorced her, and she waited 10 years and then she got married, she's not going to give birth anymore. If she had a lapse of 10 years without a husband, she's not going to become pregnant again. Only if she didn't have in mind to get married. But if she had in mind to get married, then she could. She has to be mentally, emotionally that she wants to get married. If she gave up on getting married again for 10 years, then the system goes down. She's not able to become pregnant again. Only the Basra Fista from Rani of Roma's wife, Basra Fista, she was 10 years without a husband. This Gemara says so. That we know that she married two men. She married first Rami Bachama, and then she married Rava. After Rami Bachama died, she married Rava. Is that true? He died or he divorced her, I'm not sure. That's Basra Fista. And she became pregnant from Rava. And the question was, how did she become pregnant? And it says that
after 10 years.
What?
There was 10 years between.
Yes. Taisha brings down the Gemara. Interesting. Taisha brings down the Gemara that it says about the Basra. It says about the Kama. Talking about Basra Fista Kavai Kamino. Then the Gemara says that Basra Fista, when she was a small girl, so her father, her Fista, asked her, he had two Talmidim, Rami Bachama and Rava, and he asked her, a little girl, who do you want to marry? So she said both. And that's what happened. And the Gemara says that Nitin of war with Tinokos, and she prophesied that she's going to marry both of them. So
one would die.
She said I want both of them. Of course, again, it can be simultaneous. But then it says that I'm not sure if Rami Bachama divorced her or she died. I don't know. I forgot. But here, and Rama said I want to be the second one. Rama said I want to be second. So in that story over there. So that's what happened. Taisa says Rabbi had a different wife, and that's why it took a long session one time that he didn't marry her at the end, and she was waiting for him. And that was what the Gemara is talking about, that she waited 10 years before she got married to Rabba, and she had children.
Yeah.
And Rabba said, Kamirani, Rabbanan are the renewal is like a rumor, like they're asking, like, well, Makara, how many people she became pregnant? She was 10 years, means that she had any relationships in between. It sounds like if she had no relationship for 10 years, then the system goes down. And that means that's a problem. How would you become pregnant? I know that I was always planning to marry you, and I didn't give up. I waited 10 years, I had you in mind. So a woman came to Rabbi Yosef and said that I was after my husband 10 years, and I still gave birth. So you see, that's not the Rabbanan are wrong. So Rabbi Yosef said to her, Biti, he said, my daughter, don't make laws on the Chachamim. We know that the Chachamim are right, and admit if there's anything you have to admit. About the Taka, that's true, that I did have relations with a guy during those 10 years, and that's why I was able to become pregnant. Otherwise, the Gemara says, if she was given up, and this case also, it seems that, I don't know why the Gemara is saying it, that it's a given that she was had given up from having to get married. It could be, I'm not sure, maybe the Gemara talks about that only if she had specific, she wanted to get married to somebody specifically. If she just wanted to get married, hoping to get married, but she didn't know anybody's going to marry her, maybe that's not enough. I don't know. But this Gemara sounds like she's being mostly lost, as if to say that for sure she had given up from getting married, and then how she become pregnant, and she gave in, she admitted that she had once had relations with a girl.
That's tzitkas. It's considered tzitkas on the side.
What's a tzitkas?
That she admitted and didn't want to based in.
Yes, but it wasn't such a tzitkas that she had.
I'm not agreeing that it's a good thing, but that she had the gvura to admit her sin.
Okay.
I think it's a very
First she was trying, that's what she came. She wanted to come to say that they're one and they're wrong. You see,
exactly.
And then
She could have shut her mouth, but she spoke.
Okay, that's the call, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's wait for 1 minute. I just want to find out what time the shir should be tomorrow, so if it's possible to hold on.
Does Nachri have to be a guy or it can be just a stranger?
I hope the.
Why should it be a stranger? She should have said the bounty to someone. The word nachri usually would
If a
be.
woman has a relation with a goy.
We had Nachri. Nachri.
I think that goes with the context. If it says chayos, then nachri, that means in contrast to chayos, it's called a nachri. But I think the regular nachri should be a goy. I think so. If you just find out when the shir is going to be tomorrow, if it's not possible, hold on a second, I'll find out.
Thank you very much.
Thinking halacha is nice, special. Yeah, exactly. Of course. I mean, it's not the sweetest, not the holiest, but it's what it is. It's the nature, the world we can do.
If you come from 24, 25, then 90% that you must have stuck with.
We won't go into details.
I think Gemara says the heirs, the two phases of the heirs.
Yeah, I couldn't get through, so we'll leave it at the same time unless I have to change it, then I'll let everybody know.
11.
Okay, so we're leaving it for 11 for tomorrow, and if I have to make a change, I'll get the message.
Okay.
Good. Okay. Let's go, everybody. Thank you.
Shout out to you, Rav. You did a great job. You gave us a lot of wisdom. Shared with us a lot.
And Motzei Shabbos will be pretty much maybe.
I guess